What is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Back with some more Separate Ways DLC content for you. And today I'm going to give you my review on the newly released Separate Ways DLC. So, I was thinking about how to do this. Would I just go over everything? Would I do like a, normal solid review, just giving a basis? And then I thought, you know what? I know the best way to do this. And I think it's the way to make sense is what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to compare Separate Ways, the remake, to the original because I feel like that's the best way to sell you an idea of is this for you or is it for not. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Separate Ways, I'm just going to say this right now, this may be a bold statement, but of all the things in Resident Evil that have had remakes, from RE2, RE3, RE4, to the original RE. I think in terms of the improvement compared to the original one, this one is definitely by far the biggest improvement by a mile. Honestly, I don't see how, not unless for nostalgic reasons, anyone would play the original Separate Ways compared to this. This is the superior version in every step of the way. I mean, the only reason I would play the original Separate Ways is, one, I am a diehard Ada fan, and two, maybe this nostalgic reasons, but this is just better in every single solitary possible way. The only thing I'll give the original Separate Ways is I did like those opening monologues to every episode, but other than that, there's really just nothing that I would honestly make me go, hey, I'm going to play the OG Separate Ways in like a wanting, willing mode compared to this. But so what does this one have? Well, obviously, one of my favorite aspects to this whole thing is I definitely like the addition to the grapple gun because this makes Ada feel unique and different. Like, you could use a grapple gun in the original one, but you couldn't use it in ways that this one has. It's not just a way to get from point A to point B. You can use the grapple gun to grapple off people, to do a combo attack if you're at a distance, so you don't have to run up to them. You can still do close combos, but you can do the grapple to get multiple people. You can even grapple to a ledge and hit multiple people if they're near there. You can even grapple off people's shields. So it's just, to me, like, well, damn, like, it's just so versatile, so effective, but it feels so Ada, so definitely a plus for me there. Another big thing with this, and you couldn't do this in the original one, which still is surprising. I don't think a lot of people remember this, but you couldn't upgrade your weapons in the original Separate Ways. But here you can and interact with the merchant. And not just upgrade your weapons, which gives you the incentive to explore, which you never really had in the original Separate Ways, to find treasures and sell them to them. But you could also buy some exclusive items. You also can do the same request to get you more spinels. You can also buy keychains through here that can help you out, including one keychain that can give you the ability to grapple off the shields from enemies with your grapple hook. So once again, it just raises that replayability that you never really had in the original Separate Ways. Why, just another reason it's so much more superior to the original one, as well as get your upgrades as your basic stuff. One new thing in this game is just kind of like, I like to call Arkham Detective mode, the best way I could say it so it makes sense. But basically, a little retinal scan where you can scan footprints, you can scan where fingerprints are be, or just scan to give you a little insight of how to find someone or track a missing person. So it kind of gives Ada more of that little espionage type thing. So definitely something that fits something that Ada would do. So I definitely like and appreciate it a lot. Most of the weapons are the same with some minor differences, like the sawed-off shotgun version for Ada, as that was in the original Separate Ways, as well as you do have the crossbow here. So not too many big differences, and I will admit there is one thing that I was hoping for it to be in here, but more on that later. But overall, in terms of the weapons, they have that same feel as in the original campaign, and it's definitely fun as used. Combined with the grapple gun, definitely something that I highly appreciated in this game. In terms of how the game plays, you do have 7 chapters, and a lot of times you are going backwards, from a different perspective. Also like how they change up the areas a little bit, so even if you do have familiarity, it's not 100% familiar. You do have some new areas, even some completely different areas that were never even referenced in the original one, as well as some callbacks to not just Resident Evil 4, but even some other things, as I'll talk about eventually. But Yeah, it never feels like you're just like the original Separate Ways, where it's just the same exact thing, just going for it from the opposite. They do change it up a little bit. They do keep it on your toes, and I never felt dragged down by like, oh, I'm just doing the same exact thing. But from Ada's perspective, it's a lot more enhanced than that, and I really appreciate it. And honestly, I think it's the perfect size and length. It's, dare I say, about the size of Resident Evil 3 remake. The boss fights were really exciting, especially the one in the middle, because yeah, a returning boss that wasn't in the main campaign does make a return, but in a really impactful way. I like so much more than the original one because they just don't appear. They're there for the very beginning and they stalk you, and they kind of give me them vibes to the original Resident Evil 3.5, where you had the hallucinations with the Hookman. So I like that callback, but nonetheless, I really love how they did that boss fight. So a much big improvement to the original one. Definitely something to look forward to when you get to that eventually in your playthrough. Speaking of things that people said were glaring omissions that weren't in the original Resident Evil 4, well, there's a lot of them that have definitely returned, and not just returned and put in this Separate Ways. And the weird part is, I feel like now that I've played the Separate Ways, I feel like these events I just see more with Ada than I did with Leon. Maybe not so much the gondola. I don't think it really matters for this personally, but a lot of things that were glaring omissions, especially a certain room that you go into, just feel like they feel better suited for Ada. So I like how they just didn't completely ignore it. They did bring it back, and some things I said I didn't care about personally, but some I could understand, but they definitely do. And I just feel like they fit more with Ada, so it makes this whole campaign a lot more meaningful. But it's not just having areas return. There's even brand new areas that I did not expect, including brand new enemy that I did not expect. So it kind of just comes out of nowhere with showing this stuff. So I definitely appreciate it. Put a lot of time and effort in this and stuff. I really do like making this whole campaign playthrough a lot more impactful and when to do it multiple times. But now let's get to the character interactions. Obviously, Wesker was a big one. People wanted to see him, and I do like him a lot in this because he is very menacing. He's very demanding, and even worse, he's actually there. He's actually there in person. So he's always looming over Ada's shoulder, and I like their dynamic, the tension between them, and it really kind of gives a little taste of what Wesker's going to do. Will we see something in action? I don't know. Maybe soon. But I think Ada and Luis definitely was the dynamic I really liked even more. Because I'll be the first one to admit, Luis was not a character before the original remake I really cared too much about. But after the remake and after this, I think Luis, of all the characters in this thing, has the biggest improvement, me personally, compared to the original one. Because he's so much more. And it's what makes his death hit so much harder. As he is a guy who's made some wrongs, but he's trying to do the right thing. But the funny part about Luis is he inadvertently is probably the biggest thing, the catalyst that sparks a change. And not just Leon, we saw in the main campaign, but also Ada, as both of them kind of just linger a little bit on Luis and what he was trying to do and what he eventually sparks the change in them. And I really like that. So I like the dynamic between Luis and Ada in here, how he's still Luis being as goofy as he is, and Ada's just looking at him like, really, what is this guy doing? But eventually gets to the point where I do find a common ground. They do somewhat trust each other. Obviously, it's kind of hard being their certain positions, but I really do appreciate that dynamic. And as I said, Ada eventually thinks about Luis and ultimately gives her the callous to spark to ultimately have the balls to betray and not work with Wesker, which that's not something easy to do, because if you know anything about Wesker, that's not the guy you definitely want to piss off. But once again, Luis, the GOAT in all this, he definitely is a character that, as I said, I'm definitely going to look at it from a different perspective. So it was nice to see a lot of Luis scenes in this, and I really appreciate his dynamic, not just with Ada, but with the whole cast. He definitely was a plus in this remake. Then we get to Ada herself, and obviously I like the whole dynamic of just Ada seeing things from her perspective, working between a whole entrenched web of multiple people, from like the most evil, intimidating people like Wesker to guys trying to make amends to the past like Luis, and obviously to old acquaintances like Leon. I always like how she approaches these situations, try to do what she's got to do to complete her mission, but will offer help at time. And as I said, it's not easy being Ada. Ada is definitely a unique and interesting character who's kind of on all sides, but somehow still finds a way to come out on top. But it's always what interests me in her dynamic. But I really did enjoy seeing her. She's really cool and awesome as you. As she is my favorite character, so I'm never going to pass up a chance to play as her. But overall, I think this is probably the best DLC Resident Evil has ever done. It's superior to the original in every way, and just to nail one final point, it's crazy how this is $10 and better than the original in every single solitary way, and it's the same length as a Resident Evil 3 remake, but that sold at a full price when it first came out, so it makes you wonder, Capcom, the ultimate backwards company, yeah, I don't get it, but yeah, I really did like this, but that is my opinion. I want to hear your guys' opinion. What did you feel about it? Have you played it? Did you like it? Not like it? Let me know down in the comment section down below. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. And hopefully I can see you guys back on the next one. Thanks, and I'll see you all later. Peace. But wait. There is one bad thing. I will admit this. Where's my damn PRL 412? Damn it. Oh my god.